thanks to
Houston right now, getting an update after a suspect wanted for killing a 17-year-old in a road rage shooting turned himself in today. Let's listen.
Of David Castro, 17-year-old beloved son, and his father is standing with us today, Mr. Castro. But let us not forget about David's mother and his other two siblings. They are in pain. And I'm going to make a few brief statements. I'm going to allow Mr. Castro to come up and make a statement. He will not be answering any questions today. And then we're going to turn it over to the investigators. But Mr. Williams, we believe, brutally shot David on July the 6th. A week ago, I promised that we would not stop until we get him in custody. And again, I want to thank our citizens in Cornell X for assisting in bringing him in. July the 28th, we filed murder charges on the suspect. I just want to thank the community again. And I want to say this before I turn it over to Mr. Castro. A message to everybody out here in this community. We will not stand by and allow people to brutally murder and harm our citizens and do nothing about it. We're going to stand strong as a police department, our citizens, and every arm of this criminal justice system to get things under control. So I'm going to just step down and bring up Mr. Castro, and I want to thank him. He's a very strong man. I've been in regular conversation with him as our investigators. And before I bring the investigators up as well, I want to thank them. Justin Brown and Mark Condon, one of lost their mother during the course of this investigation, is still pushing strong. These are the kind of men and women that we have on our police department, going through family tragedies, but still dedicated to bringing justice to families in this city. So I want to commend them, and you'll hear from them in just a second. But Mr. Castro.
Thank you, Chief Finner. On behalf of the family, I'd like to express gratitude today. First, I'd like to express gratitude towards Chief Finner, Detective Brown, Detective Condon, all of the police officers and detectives of the Houston Police Department who've been working tirelessly to bring justice for my son, David. Prayers were answered today. Our family's been praying for the safe arrest of the suspect. The fact that he safely surrendered and did not put any of the community members in jeopardy, none of the police department members in jeopardy, is an answered prayer. And so I want to say thank you to the community. Prayers work. I'd like to thank the city of Houston. Our family has been inundated with love and prayer and support. And I understand that there were a great number of tips that came in, and that came in because y'all were touched by this story and you could see your own children in my son. And so I thank you for doing that. And last, I'd like to thank my friends and family our friends and family who've been there for us. The only word that comes to mind is unimaginable. There are no words in the English language, nor should there be, to describe the pain that we're going through right now. An ask for continued prayers for our family, especially David's mom, his brother and sister, and his grandparents who are really hurting right now. And so that's my prayer. And I think today just proves that love is greater than anger and hate. And so as a proud Houstonian, I want to just acknowledge the amazing work of the people who are here to protect us from bad people. Good people are greater than bad people. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll bring up the investigators.
I'm Detective Brown with the Homicide Division, Houston Police. This is a continuation of the press release we had a few weeks ago. I'm not going to be giving much details on the questions you guys are going to ask. We want to protect the citizens that came forward, keep them out of the media spotlight. You said citizens, correct? Yes. City of Houston came together on this. More tips than we've seen in a long time. Crime Stoppers really helped out. Everybody really came together and sent us a lot of information in this case.
Are you able to tell us what put Gerald Williams on your radar?
It's going to be, like I just said, it's going to be some tips and things that came in from the City of Houston. Yeah.
He was linked specifically to that car that we saw in surveillance footage. Can you talk about that connection?
I'm not going to give any details on that. That's going to protect the people involved that came forward on that. Everything that's in the charging document is sort of we can leave it. Yeah.
We spoke with his public advocate who told us that just because he might own the car, he would have family members that also drive it. How could you be positive that he was the one driving that car that day?
Like I said, just look to the charging document, the evidence that's in the case, phone records and things like that. Yeah.
With regards to putting yourselves into this position today and having the meetings with Quanell and everything, how many times did investigators specifically meet with Mr. Williams? One in person, one on the phone. Is that accurate?
I spoke to him several times on the phone just to set up our meetings, and I spoke to him in person once.
So how long prior to today had he been connected to HPD and HPD had contact with Mr. Williams?
He came up on our radar early in the case due to the citizens coming forward, but there was also so many tips coming in. We had to vet all that information and everything. So,
Detective, was there a face-to-face meeting?
yes, there was.
How many tips would you say approximately you received? Over 100?
Yeah, over 100. Yes.
These are good citizens.
And so many Houstonians are just absolutely horrified at this crime and sending David losing your life. Mr. Castro, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
What can you say to the people of Houston? Should they feel safer now that Gerald Williams is off the street? What do you want to say to that?
I'm not going to give any advice or anything that the case.
I'll take it. Thank you. Thank you for that question, and thanks for acknowledging the family. You know, all around the nation, that there's a rise in violent crime, and it just speaks to we have to come closer together and watch out for one another. But you know, I want to be careful of this, and I look back on different crime scenes, and let's even take the incident in the Galleria, and I was thinking about this the other night. I want to make sure that our citizens, we look at things for what it is, and an individual that for whatever reason, whatever happened before then, it didn't justify him shooting into a vehicle and killing an innocent. And you know what? Let's speak to those people, and let's make sure that we all working together to get those individuals off our streets. And I'm celebrating that today. And I know it gives some a bit of closure. Know that the process still has to go through for the family members, but I want to make sure that we're all moving together and moving forward, and not pushing aside that we're fighting a violent crime and an uptick of violent crime. But you know what? As the criminal justice system, and y'all been seeing the meetings start coming together, and we get these trials moving like some of them are, you're going to see a better and safer Houston, Harris County. But let's keep things in perspective. Let's hold this city together. And that's part of my job. I want my officers to keep charging. I want our citizens to keep bringing in information, and we will get those individuals off the street.
Chief,
Go ahead.
Chief, when you took the job on the very first day, you said, men, women, I need you to step up. I need you to provide tips.
Yep.
To be good Houstonians. Is this what you're referring to?
It is, and thanks for asking that, Maury. And we want to celebrate that because a lot of times people get this myth. Yeah, there is good investigative work, outstanding, all over our nation. But homicides and other violent crimes, you know how we get people in custody? Our largest force multiplier, that's our citizens, bringing information. And I want to say this because today we're and I don't want to say celebrating so much, okay? A good feeling that we got somebody in custody, but there are other families that's suffering right now, and we hadn't made those arrests. And there are individuals out there, and when I go around to these different neighborhoods, and talk to different people, and they say, well, Chief, how can we help? You know how you can help? You talk to your family members and your friends, because people know who killed or who victimized people, and we all need to be together, because you know what? If you don't do anything about it, tomorrow it could be on your doorstep, and then you sitting up on that front row in church at one of your loved one's funerals. So I want us to all come together.
And you still want to answer that in there, but there are a lot of families out there that unfortunately do not have the amount of media, the amount of coverage, the amount of man hours put on their cases. They're still waiting for that arrest. What message do you have to them?
Well, let me tell them to stand strong with us and understand we don't discriminate. We don't pick and choose how that information comes in. But let me tell you something. All our investigators and all our the police department, when we get that information, we're going to follow it. It is all our goal to get those violent criminals off, and especially somebody who killed somebody in our great city and our county, okay?
Can you speak a little bit about this particular case itself, Chief? I know you are new to this position, a few months into it at this point. Without going into the details, I know that Detective Brown said he can't kind of explain what pinned Gerald Williams specifically to this, but did you double check the work? Are you confident in this investigation?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm confident in it, but I also, and we spoke to Mr. Castro before we came up, and one thing about me, I can't say that I spoke to every homicide victim, but when I tell you, and Mario, I talk to people who lost because they're hurting. And I want them to know that we're standing behind them. But also, we got to be really, really careful that we don't say anything that's going to jeopardize the case. And that's so important, okay, because we're here to catch those criminals and lock them up. But we're part of that criminal justice system, and we want to respect that process, because at the end of the day, you know, when the family really probably gets some semblance of closure, when that individual is sentenced to prison, okay? And that's what we want to get.
In regards to the tips, I know you all mentioned quite a few people called in information. Will anyone receive the $10,000 reward? Are you all passing that to Crime Stoppers?
I'm sure they will, but and please, thank you for saying that. And I forgot to at the beginning of our partners, Crime Stoppers. Thanks so much. Thank you so much for setting up that forum, that platform where people can come in with tips and get compensated for it. So we're appreciative of it, but they said it, over 100 tips that came in, and I'm sure that Crime Stoppers is going to stand behind their commitment, and we're excited about that as well.
Can I follow up with the investigators really fast?
Yes.
On a case of this significance.
A few more questions, and we're going to,
On a case of this significance, how challenging was it to keep everything close to the vest, knowing that if one particular piece of information gets out, then it could help or can create a breakdown perhaps of the suspect?
Any case is challenging, and we put forth all the effort we can. And this one, information was coming in quickly with all the tips the chief mentioned and through Crime Stoppers. So we follow our procedure, and we go from there.
I would like to add something.
Go ahead.
Justin and I didn't solve this case alone. We had help. We had help from other detectives, specifically Detective Holbrook, Detective Roscoe, and the Auto Theft Division played a pivotal role in this case. So I just wanted to give them some credit also.
Thank you.
From your detective perspective, just because Chief Finner has mentioned the community, and also, let's just be clear, just the uptick of crime across the city, this does feel like a win for Houston, especially in this road rage case. It's a difficult case to crack. What would you like to say to everybody else who is waiting for their moment for that justice process to continue? Because this is one case down, but I would imagine, Detective, you've got a whole stack of them on your desk.
The only thing I can say to the family members out there is just be patient with the process. I know the chief mentioned that, you mentioned that the media attention. Just know that everybody up in Homicide is working night and day to get their cases solved.
Good.
And how often do an extra set of detectives, like Holbrook and Roscoe, help out on a case that is assigned to two other detectives?
Two more questions.
They're available anytime that we ask for help.
Okay, so in this case, you guys asked for extra help?
Due to the amount of tips coming in, every single tip that comes in needs to be vetted, and the information needs to be processed, and just the large amount of tips.
Hold up. Let me address something too, okay? Because I want to set this because Mario asked something, and look, it's not unreasonable that we put teams of investigators on a case. And it doesn't matter what family it is or whatnot. Every family in this city is very important to us, and every homicide is, okay? Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you, Mr. Castro asked for acts of kindness after his son's demise, and everybody responded, obviously with tips and kindness. But this road rage incident continued to happen. Is there anything else we can do? Because people out there on the roads, they have, they're armed, and then
look, I want to put some stats out later this week. I got a family personal issue that I have to deal with, some of y'all know about, but we just had a meeting with our executive team. I want to put some statistics out on what we've done in the last couple of weeks in regards to road rage and other incidents. We should get that out to you sometime this week. But to our citizens, be careful. And if you got some nut out there, and I am not, and I want to say this, we've had our conversations, I'm not blaming Mr. Castro or any other victim of violent crime. You got some people out there for whatever reason doing some crazy things that we hadn't seen. So if you get somebody and they're trying to cut you off or whatever, let them go on up the road. And sometimes they're still going to shoot at you. But we have our marked and unmarked units out there on the freeways and on major fairways, marked and unmarked, and working with other jurisdictions. So we have some good results, and we want to share it with you.
Chief, on that note, please refer back to last week's press conference or about a week ago that Chief Satterwhite did in this very room on taking the higher road in our campaign and on dealing with road rage. All that's been pushed out on social media, and there was a press conference in this room on that just recently.
Mario, go ahead. We'll do one more to you. Go ahead.
Chief, paper plates have been issues that many people have discussed. And in this particular case, was there more challenges as a result of a paper plate component here? And if you could speak to that, I'd really appreciate it.
I'll answer that for him, and we're going to move on. It's always more challenges when you have those paper plates, okay? But with the tips and with the great work of our investigators, we were able to move through it and get a suspect in custody. Go ahead.
Was Mr. Castro and the other witnesses able to identify Gerald Williams? And you mentioned auto theft investigators. Was his vehicle stolen?
Yeah. We won't speak to the vehicle wasn't stolen, but we'll end that on any details on the case, okay?
All right.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank y'all.